Welcome to Sexuality in a Deaf World, brought to you by Emma, Allison, Stephanie, and Sandra. Everyone has sexual desires. Both the hearing and the non-hearing, or deaf, have biological desires, even though they might express these feelings and desires in diverse ways and moods. The deaf has erroneously been labeled as asexual by those who have little knowledge or understanding of how they express their sexual desires. Gerald's articles tracing the beginning of sexual education in the U.S. in the 1900s, based on the seminal theory, to the modern era where sex education has become less prophylactic and more focused on the long-term sexual adjustment of individuals as society moved from agrarian to industrial and improved or advanced medical technology. People who are deaf are not able to connect with society the way that others do. For example, kids who watch TV or listen to the radio are able to utilize information and understand sexuality, transmitted diseases, and other areas of sexuality. Youth who can hear and talk can discuss sexuality and sexual issues and openly express their feelings and engage in dating on one-on-one basis, unlike those who are deaf. The author suggests that to address this problem, teachers of deaf communities or residential schools, for the most part, must be fluent in signed language so that they would be able to teach sex education effectively to deaf students or youth. Hannah A. Jorhich's article on a glimpse at an American deaf woman's sexuality stresses the importance of dating and establishing sexual relationships. This dating process is a window into the world of sexuality and sexual satisfaction, and this is what is missing in people who are deaf. Most available research focuses on the stereotypes and the negatives about the sexual behaviors or attitudes of the deaf. There is the need for comprehensive studies on the sexuality in the deaf community and to establish sex education, marital, and information that can be understood and processed by those who are deaf. There is a great deal of misconception among the hearing people that deaf individuals want to change to be like everyone else. There are two kinds of deaf people. There are individuals who are deaf because they were born deaf without the ability to hear, and then there are individuals who are deaf with a capital D. These deaf with a capital D individuals proudly identify as people who have nothing wrong with them. They can't hear, but to them that doesn't make them any less of a person than people who can hear. If anything, it makes them appreciate their other gifts and talents more, and binds them closer to other individuals who identify as deaf. There is a great deal of pride that goes with being deaf, and this pride leads to an individual and unique culture where certain ideologies are upheld, and the use of language is a key element of holding together the culture and giving it its foundation to continually build up on. American Sign Language, or very similar derivatives of the language, is the communication of choice amongst many deaf individuals, and cultures rely on. American Sign Language acts as a catalyst for culture to grow and thrive. Reading and writing are the deaf individuals' main connections to the hearing world. While English is often considered their first language, it should actually be ASL. With English as a second language, deaf individuals are less likely to become skilled readers with a reading level between 3rd and 8th grade upon graduation from high school. This is primarily due to the lack of appropriate education, as the learning tools available to the deaf community are still insufficient. This lower literacy translates to poorer, sometimes inaccurate sexual education. Because sex ed is often taught to older youth, it is often accompanied by a lot of reading material targeted at an age-appropriate audience. This can lead to miscommunication to the deaf learner. To be effective, sex ed needs to avoid using jargon, preferably to be signed with an appropriate language and have many visual aids. This would allow for less miscommunication and a clearer view of sexual bodies, health, and safety. Being deaf or hard of hearing creates obstacles when trying to obtain information or knowledge that is auditory-based. Deaf individuals cannot receive information through the same channels as hearing individuals, and without hearing, one's ability to connect to society is greatly hampered. Those that are hard of hearing or deaf don't gain any information or overhearing or even engaging in conversation about sex, unlike their hearing peers. As a result, deaf individuals also don't receive the same sexual information as their hearing counterparts, which is further made worse by inadequate sex ed. Medical care for the deaf can be a breach of confidentiality because unless the doctor knows sign language, a translator must be used and therefore share confidential information. Because of this lack of access to appropriate language, important information regarding sexual health and the education can be lost in translation. Women are expected to fulfill certain roles in society and at home. Yet deaf and other disabled individuals are viewed as unfit to fulfill these roles. Men are also deemed weak and unmanly when they are unable and labeled as disabled, like many deaf individuals are. Because of the systematic treatment of deaf women, it also creates this portal of role-lessness, which can sometimes demean a woman further when she feels that she has no role in her house, her home, or her culture. Communication for the hearing impaired can be difficult, but not impossible. Most are literate and are able to read and write. Being literate opens new doors such as online communication. Sexual education is extremely important to youth and adolescent development. However, sex ed is socially and politically constructed and as such reflects differences in education based on race, class, gender, and ability. Studies have shown that deaf individuals have less sexual, anatomical, and STD knowledge than their hearing peers. Poor sexual education can lead to many social and health ramifications. This lack of information sharing can be attributed to many factors, primarily the following: stereotyping, lack of accessibility, and literacy barriers. Those with disabilities, including hearing disabilities, are often stereotyped when it comes to many things, including sexuality. Unfortunately, the stereotype is often that those with disabilities are asexual. Due to this misconception, the needs of and considerations of people who are deaf are ignored and sex ed programs are inadequate. Thank you.